At 41 years old, LeBron James is holding the NBA hostage without saying a word. One final decision could define his legacy: a shocking return home, a championship chase, or the move nobody saw coming.
Where the hell will LeBron James go? New odds-on favorite this morning. Yesterday was Miami Heat. Today, Cleveland Cavaliers.
Oh, wow.
Now, I wonder if LeBron James potentially liked a post that said there's nothing like going back home or something, like on Instagram, and somebody saw King James do a home thing. So now that obviously boosts their particular odds to get them. Why was Miami in the lead? Why is Golden State not in the lead? That one feels...
Thought he was
wrong.
Was he not in an airport last
That's
night?
a 9-year NFL vet. That's Darius J. Butler. That's one half of the Hammer.
Dad.
Cowboys AP Tone asking if LeBron James was any international airports recently where we could potentially see what gate he was going to potentially see. I don't think that's happening. Talks with Table at Boston Connor, at Ty Schmitter here. These are the things that we have to do, but it's not just speculation on a GOAT. Ladies and gentlemen, we got rookies reporting the training camp in the NFL.
Boom. Go.
Here we begin the decision. LeBron James' offseason has become the NBA's longest loading screen. Even GPS there says recalculating on his next destination. It's been 23 days since he announced he's not returning to the Lakers. And as of right now, 3 Eastern Conference teams, Cleveland, Philly, Miami, among those believed to be the front runners. LeBron's agent, Rich Paul, telling teams they need not bother trying to sway LeBron's decision. The audition process is over, so don't call Paul. He'll call you.
We're not making this about attention and a spectacle. It's not about a decision or anything like that. He has a choice to make. He has a business choice to make. We're not going to sit here and decide or allow someone else to decide when he makes that decision. From a business perspective, you are making a choice between jobs, high-level jobs, and you've earned the right. You're a big-time executive that's with an unbelievable, arguably the best resume in the history of your job. Who's rushing you?
Okay.
Nobody.
All right, let's talk about this with our senior NBA writer, Dave McMenamin. And it's been exactly 3 weeks since LeBron left the Lakers. He may not be in a rush, but man, the league is certainly on pins and needles. When could we expect an announcement, you think, Dave?
Brian, I've been told from a source, quote, nothing happening today. And, as Rich Paul stated on the podcast on Monday evening, LeBron doesn't know. Rich Paul doesn't know. And, people around the league, including Commissioner Adam Silver, are trying to put pressure on the James camp to make a decision. Rich Paul said on the podcast that he had a conversation with Adam Silver in New York about Silver's comments, saying that I really need LeBron to tell us what he's doing so we can put the league schedule together. And Rich's statement to him was, he doesn't really know. So how can he rush the decision? It's not like he is waiting on his choice and there's some elaborate rollout planned. And so as LeBron is weighing the options, the only thing all of us can do is just wait.
So what about then the teams, obviously, in this LeBron sweepstakes handling this? We talked about Cleveland. We talked about Miami and Philly. How do they go about filling out their roster? Because obviously they're waiting for LeBron. Do they wait and see if they get him, then fill it out, or do they go about their business now?
Yeah, Rich had another message in the podcast to those teams, and I can tell you there's at least a handful of teams that are still in active pursuit of LeBron 3 weeks into this waiting period. And Rich said, I understand you may have open roster spots. Go ahead and fill them. And so that's the thing. When some people around the league are saying, is there another shoe we're waiting to drop? Is this weight trying to put some tacit pressure on teams to make some subsequent moves? And by what Rich is saying here is that that's not the case. Now, I've checked in with 2 people, one person from 2 different teams that are still in active pursuit. And those 2 people both brought up the fact that, hey, we have some family vacations planned here. Now, that doesn't mean because they have family vacations they're going to give up the pursuit, but there is a certain impracticality of this wait that is going to only get louder and louder if it keeps going and going.
So as I think about my decision, understanding well, if I'm in a cold city, if I'm playing on the East Coast and now the golf course is closed in November, compared to if I'm in the South and they never close. Listen, my main focus while I'm playing the game of basketball is to keep the main thing. Yeah. And I've always have done that.
So I'm sure the whole decision isn't based on the best golf, but maybe like a little sliver, Ash? What do you think?
I mean, I don't think that really matters as much as people want it to matter who want him in Miami, right? And I say this because you have to think about it. Half the time of the NBA season, guys are on the road. So you're playing in climates that are probably warmer than where you live anyway. There are opportunities, especially if you're on a little bit of a longer trip, like when guys go to the West Coast, to play golf in the middle of the season if that's something you want to do. But also, I mean, LeBron's a billionaire. If he wants to fly to Cabo during All-Star weekend to go play some golf, he can do that. I think the more reasonable thing is what has been out there these past few days is that his daughter Zuri and her life is more of a factor in his decision making. She has her entire life on the West Coast, from her extracurricular activities to her friends to her school, and I can see that being more of a factor in LeBron's decision making when it comes to kind of uprooting her life or being away from her because he chooses a team on the East Coast. I think that's more of a realistic factor than whether or not he can play golf in November.
Something else we could read into, he said that, quote, the main thing is the main thing. That is actually a t-shirt and a saying that the Heat culture say.
At 41 years old, LeBron James has the entire NBA waiting.
Not because he demanded attention. Not because he created another decision moment.
But because one choice from the greatest player of this generation could completely reshape the league. For weeks, teams have been trying to predict the future. Will LeBron return to Cleveland and finish the story where it started?
Will Miami become the place where he chases one more championship?
Or will Philadelphia become the unexpected destination that changes everything?
The latest twist has shocked fans.
Yesterday, Miami was considered the favorite. Today, Cleveland is suddenly gaining momentum.
And the reason? A simple connection to home.
A possible social media interaction. A small clue. A reminder of where LeBron became a legend.
Suddenly, the NBA started asking the same question.
Is the King thinking about coming home one more time? But this situation has become much bigger than rumors. Because behind the scenes, LeBron is controlling the timeline. And nobody can force the decision. But the reason teams cannot get answers may come from one person who knows LeBron better than anyone, Rich Paul. It has now been 23 days since LeBron James moved away from the Lakers situation. And the NBA is still waiting. But Rich Paul's message was clear. Stop trying to rush LeBron. The audition is over. Teams do not need to convince him anymore.
LeBron James has earned the right to decide when he is ready.
According to reports, even NBA Commissioner Adam Silver wanted clarity because the league needs to finalize schedules and prepare for the upcoming season. But the answer from LeBron's camp was simple. How can anyone rush a decision that has not been made? This is not about creating another dramatic announcement. There is no secret television event. No countdown. No performance. LeBron is simply choosing what comes next. And that uncertainty has created a major problem. Because Cleveland, Miami, and Philadelphia are all waiting while trying to build their futures. The question is no longer just, where does LeBron want to play? The question is, how long can teams wait for the biggest name in basketball? And that brings us to the biggest battle of this offseason. Which team actually makes the most sense for LeBron James? For Cleveland, this is about history. This is the city where LeBron became a superstar. The place where he delivered the championship that ended decades of heartbreak. A return would not just be another contract. It would be the ultimate closing chapter. For Miami, it is about culture. The organization that helped transform LeBron into a champion. The team built around toughness, discipline, and the famous mentality. Keep the main thing the main thing. And for Philadelphia, it is about opportunity. A chance to add one of the greatest players ever and instantly become a championship contender. But while fans debate basketball reasons, there is another factor many people believe could matter even more: family. Because for LeBron James, the final decision may not be decided by basketball alone. People have talked about weather, golf, lifestyle, comfort. But those arguments may be missing the bigger picture. LeBron has always said one thing: the main thing is the main thing. Basketball comes first. The reality is simple. LeBron James is a billionaire. If he wants to play golf somewhere warm, he can do it anywhere. The bigger question is his family, especially his daughter Zori. Her life has been built on the West Coast. Her school, her friends, her world. A move across the country would affect much more than a basketball decision. And that could become one of the strongest reasons for LeBron to stay closer to Los Angeles. So now the NBA remains frozen, waiting for the final answer from the king himself. The NBA has seen superstar moves before, but this feels different. Because this is not just free agency. This is LeBron James deciding how history remembers him. Cleveland wants the fairy tale. Miami wants another championship run. Philadelphia wants a superstar edition. And the entire basketball world is waiting. Because when LeBron finally chooses, the league will change instantly. The king still controls the story. Now, everyone is waiting to see where he writes the final chapter.
-2. Game over for this video, folks. Smash that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe to stay in the huddle for more. This is NFL Madness, bringing the heat and signing out.